It's me again, Aramucho. And tonight, in this particular setting, I feel I want to discuss, I want to talk about the film industry and how, in my opinion, how I believe it's gone to shit. In about the last 10 years or so, the quality of movies have really just gone down the toilet. I've just been thinking about how they I think these crappy reboots of recent years, with films like, I guess the Spider-Man films and RoboCop and Conan the Barbarian, a few movies that come to mind. They've made these crappy reboots of good films from the past and of recent years. And I'm also thinking about all these, there's too many of these superhero films that have come out, way too many of those that have come out. What the hell's with those? There's just so many, I can't even think of the names of them all, It seems like they're just flogging every Marvel comic book character you can think of and making a film out of them. It's like all being done now. So they're just like, I don't know, where else can they take it except maybe getting, groups of these characters together and whatnot. There's multiple things on my mind. The recent crappy Terminator Genesis movie, that was a horrible disappointment. I really believe that Terminator should have been left alone after the second film. It's complete garbage. I suppose I can look at the Hobbit films. They were a disappointment. The Lord of the Rings films were good when they came out. Obviously over 10 years, I think it was like 14 to like 12 years ago now. They were good, but the prequel Hobbit films were a disappointment. I wouldn't say they were complete garbage, but they were a disappointment. Certainly weren't as good as the Lord of the Rings movies. And you can actually compare that with the Star Wars prequels, even though those came out a bit further back. Obviously, the original Star Wars films came out in the late 70s, early 80s. The prequels only came out sort of 16 to 10 years ago, but they were, of course, disappointments. It was like, George Lucas screwed up his classics, I guess, he just made these prequels that didn't hold up to the original films that were made back in the day. And it's the same thing, obviously, Peter Jackson with the Hobbit films for Lord of the Rings. But it's not just, I've just been thinking about everything that's come out in recent years has just been absolute rubbish, truly. It's just disappointments. There was Prometheus a few years ago, which was like the new Alien franchise movie. That was a disappointment. That had the original director. The director for the original film, Ridley Scott. That was a letdown. It sucks. And of course, as predicted, I think I predicted this in the early 2000s. They started using too much CGI in movies, and I think people are starting to realise that all these movies they're using computer graphics more than like props and special effects. The old practical way. Well, it seems to make movies look even more fake. You know what I mean? It's like going backwards in a way. I think there really needs to be more use of models and miniature effects, and there's just some good costumes and props and things like that. CGI has just been getting used too much, and I think started to happen in the at the beginning of the 2000s. It gradually got worse. It's just too much. It's like these Transformer movies, whatever. It's just over the top. And this is why I love old films from, say, the 70s and 80s that feature special effects, because it was all done in a practical sense. It was all optical effects and models and stop animation and things like that. So it looked more realistic in a way. Whereas all this computer graphics business is, it looks even more fake. But that's the way films have gone, unfortunately. Except, I believe, well, there's probably some filmmakers who are actually wanting to go back and use more of the old school practical effects, more of the old, I don't know, blue screen, techniques perhaps, or whatever. I think models and stuff, actually, from what I've read, but yeah, it's been all this green screen, computer graphics style that's just totally dominated. I mean, obviously all this computer technology took over in movies originally in the 90s, but back then it wasn't over the top. Films like Jurassic Park, and a couple of years before that there was Terminator 2. That these sort of big films that came out that featured a decent amount of graphics. I'd say Jurassic Park was like the real big one that had quite a bit, but it still wasn't over the top. They still had those animatronic sort of dinosaurs and things like that. So it wasn't all just total CGI. Whereas nowadays, any sort of creatures that you see in movies, it's all just computer graphics. It's over the top. But it's just too much, It really is. I mean, franchises are just being crapped on. They're just going down the toilet. I mean, it's like these horrible Alien versus Predator films that come out. I think those were, I don't know, probably a few years, I think 10 years ago now even. But yeah, they were god awful. Well, actually, there was a Predators movie that came out 5 years ago. They just called it Predators. I suppose it's like the third movie in the Predators franchise, but that was disappointing. Again, it's like the first two Predator films were great, and then this shitty third one comes out 5 years back and it was garbage. It was disappointing. Disappointing. Maybe it wasn't complete crap, but it was disappointing. Just like, as I said, the Prometheus and the new Terminator movie, and I haven't seen the new Jurassic Park film. I think they screwed it up with Jurassic Park 3, so that's sort of put me off going there. It's a worry. It's a real worry, and with the new Star Wars film that's looming on the horizon, this I think Star Wars Episode 7, is it Force Awakens? Yeah, it's a worry with that. I mean, that could potentially turn out to be yet another disappointment, just like all these other films I've named that have come out in just recent years. It's it's like all these classic franchises are being screwed up. I think the new Jurassic Park films, that's got good reviews, but Terminator's been ruined, Alien's been ruined, Predator has been ruined. I wasn't that impressed with the new Spider-Man film. I haven't seen the RoboCop reboot, but I've heard that's rubbish compared to the old classic RoboCop films from the late 80s, early 90s. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, I heard that was complete rubbish. See, I haven't seen a lot of these, because as I said, I'm like, well, why go and put myself through more disappointments? Yeah, I heard the new Ninja Turtles film was, well, I think that came out last year. I heard that was rubbish and didn't hold up compared to the films of the early 90s, so I've just been thinking about it lately, and it's like, what the hell? Why has the quality of movies gone down the toilet? I mean, it's like nothing original is coming to the table anymore. They're just flogging old franchises and screwing them up. They're stuffing up old franchises, and as I said before, all these superhero movies, way too many of these superhero themed movies, so many sequels to them as well. It's like over the top, and just making more and more of them to the point where they put like all these characters into one film, like a, you know, it's ridiculous. It's like, I think they've flogged all these, as I said, these Marvel characters off as individual characters, and then they've put them all together in the same movies. But there's way too many. I've seen, you know, I've noticed too many of these superhero themed movies. It's just, I suppose now because with today's technology they can make all these, you know, movies based on comic books. You know, they can go for it. You know, it's almost like the movie versions of anime. You know, it's, I think of like manga and anime, the Japanese cartoons. You know, that are based on comic books. You know, that obviously they're comic books. Yeah, it's kind of like movies have kind of gone, you know, perhaps influenced in that direction. In my opinion, TV is the future. I mean, well, it's TV shows at the moment are where it's at, in my opinion. You know, what's the best thing you can watch right now is yeah, TV shows. Once upon a time, it used to be the opposite. Obviously, movies once upon a time used to, you know, be much better quality than TV shows or TV movies, but now, in my opinion, it's TV shows that are much better quality than the big Hollywood productions, which is really sad. But you know, that's the way it is. I mean, shows I've seen in recent years. I mean, I suppose what's hip right now is, you know, like The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones. I saw a bit of, I think it was Hannibal, but that's been cancelled. But that, you know, it's still a good show. A few years ago, you know, a few years back, you had like Prison Break, Supernatural. That's still going. There's probably a bunch of other shows I haven't seen. I just can't think of them right now. But Breaking Bad was that was a good show. You know, that was another good quality TV show. My point is, all these shows, they're more original and they seem to be a lot better quality than big Hollywood productions of recent years. And these are like recent hip TV shows, you know, popular TV shows of recent years. So, I mean, what the hell's happening? Why has Hollywood gone to shit? Why has the quality of big production movies, you know, and you know, it's not the actors, you know, because I've seen, you know, actors in these movies, in good movies, you know, but it's definitely I think the scripts, the stories, they're just unoriginal. The special effects is one thing, you know. I mean, obviously, I think there's too much CGI being used. That's one thing, but I think it's the stories and the scripts. They're just unoriginal. They're like flogging dead horses. As I said, particularly with this whole superhero theme that's been, you know, getting floated around in recent years. There's nothing original that seems to come out anymore. You know, I mean, you watch movies of previous decades. It seems like every few years, back in the past, they'd have these original ideas, you know, or original looking movies, original stories, you know, interesting stuff. And, you know, obviously to top it off, they had these old school practical effects that, in my opinion, looked more realistic. You know, when you watch the old Star Wars, Aliens, Predator, Terminator, all those films looked good back in the day, and they still do now. They've stood the test of time, whereas they've unfortunately screwed up these old franchises in recent years, and mainly with crappy stories, you know, just inferior stories. I think that just yeah. But you can see how unoriginal things are right now, that they're just flogging old dead franchises, you know, like rebooting old classic movies and trying to carry on classic franchises from the past, because it seems like all these Hollywood writers, directors and whatnot are out of ideas, you know. So yeah, what's going to be coming soon is the new Star Wars film, and I worry, you know, I'll go to the cinemas and I'll watch it. I think I'll take the gamble with this one. Surely it couldn't be any worse than the prequels, but I'll take the gamble, but I'm just worried, you know, it's going to be another disappointment. And as I said, I haven't watched all these disappointments of recent years, but you know, I've watched enough, and I've got an idea, and I can see where it's heading, where it's going. It's like going in a bad direction, you know, Hollywood movies. And I've turned to TV. I've turned to watching TV shows as a result, because to me the big Hollywood productions are just lost. They're a lost cause, you know, with their stories, and yeah, with the, as I said, the over-the-top use of computer graphics, which just looks even more fake than, you know, a lot of the old methods. My opinion is they should only use computer graphics when absolutely necessary. When they're trying to create a shot or an effect that can't be done any other way, then yes, use some computer graphics. But, you know, don't overuse it. Don't just, like, you know, like make everything completely fake, you know, in green screen. Otherwise it just doesn't look real. It's like giving the actors nothing to work with, you know. Sets, I mean, that's the other thing I should have mentioned. Yes, they need to use more big sets. Obviously using computer graphics is the cheaper alternative, but bigger sets, and, you know, yeah, let's use more models, and, you know, that props and things like that, you know. It's, you know, it's like give the actors something to work with, and, you know, I imagine it's like, no, that's the way to go, yeah, you know. I really think Hollywood needs to sort of go back, but without, well, they kind of are going back, aren't they, with these, killing these old franchises, but go back, but to the old film style, classic film style, but try and be original and create new franchises. Let go of the old stuff, you know, it's not going to be beaten. You know what I mean? Like that, they'll never make a better Terminator film than the old ones, or a better Predator film than the old ones. Same with the Aliens movie. The first two Alien films are great. You know, they'll never make a better one. Sad that it seems like they just start, you know, filmmakers start making all these crappy sequels. They just screw it up. It's unfortunate. I think they need to, as I said, go back to the old film style, but they need original stories. They need to try and create something original and new and fresh, and just stop flogging the old classic franchises because they're screwing them up. And yeah, drop all this superhero crap I've been seeing. You know, just let go of that. There's way too many of those films coming out. You know, way too much of that crap. Think of something new and original, Hollywood. Give us something new. Make it fresh, like it used to be in the old days, you know. And yeah, just no, as I said, no overuse of CGI. Cut back on the computer graphics imagery, because that looks truly more fake than, I'm seeing movies of recent years that look more fake than movies that came out, you know, 30 years ago, like 80s classics, you know. So yeah, it's just disappointing. TV is the future. It's the way. TV shows are. They are where it's at right now. That's what I'm investing my viewing time in. Anything that's new, anyway. I mean, I'm still watching old classic movies, of course, but I mean, anything new that's coming out I'm mostly watching TV shows now, because I believe, amazingly, thank God, it's like good quality TV shows are still being made. You know, so we still got that. And yeah, there's a few, you know, strange, really strange. TV shows are doing all right, but yeah, big Hollywood productions have gone down the toilet. Anyway, that's my say on things. I don't think I've got too much more to say. I don't want to repeat myself too much. Yeah. So that's it, you know. Stop killing the old franchises and think of something original. That's my 2 cents. See you later.